Gently blow the sea breeze, gently sway the waves. She didn't ask him to stop, so he kept singing. At first, Li Qianxue was very awake. Gradually, she fell asleep listening to Su Qinghui's singing. Su Qinghui sang it twice but didn't get a response. After singing it twice, he really couldn't find a second song that he knew. Qianxue? Qianxue? He gently called her name twice, but he heard a light breathing sound coming from the other end of the phone. He held the phone and listened to Li Qianxue's breathing on the other end of the phone. Although he didn't understand why she had insomnia today and why she suddenly asked him to sing. Thinking of Li Qianxue's request just now, Su Qinghui suddenly smiled. He didn't hang up the phone and just turned on the speaker. Then he fell asleep listening to her breathing. Old Master Li woke up early in the morning and found that Li Qianxue had woken up very early. She had already come back from her morning jog. "Why did you wake up so early today?" "I slept well, so I woke up earlier." Old Master Li looked at her and observed the look in her eyes. He found that she did look good. "What's wrong? What kind of magic potion did Su Qinghui give you yesterday to make you so happy today?" "Did I? You should go look in the mirror." Seeing that his daughter was about to go upstairs, Old Master Li finally couldn't help but remind her, "Have you thought it through?" "No." "Then I told him before that I would give him a year. During this year I will do everything I can to torment him. If he can endure my torment, then we'll talk about this a year later." "What if he can't stand it?" "Then forget it. It could only mean that they were not meant to be. That was all." "How do you plan to torment him?" Old Master Li knew his daughter very well. She was willful and she had a temper. But for so many years, except for when she wanted to be with Su Qinghui, Old Master Li had never seen her willful. "You will know later." After saying this, Li Qianxue went upstairs to take a shower and change clothes. Old Master Li was left looking at her back and frowning. What on earth did this daughter want to do? When Su Qinghui got up early in the morning, his phone had already been hung up. He didn't know if it was Li Qianxue who hung up, or if her phone was out of battery. Before he could take care of himself, he received a text from Li Qianxue. "Bring me breakfast." Below the text was a list of Hong Kong-style snacks from a 5-star hotel in Lin City. Most importantly, it was on time. If it wasn't delivered within the specified time, he didn't have to go to the Li family. He looked at the text and was confused for a moment. There were 3 chefs in the Li family. There were Chinese and Western dishes, and there were also chefs who knew how to make snacks. Breakfast was a combination of Chinese and Western dishes, with both Chinese and Western dishes. Why did she want him to bring her breakfast? "Dad, do you think I don't want to?" "Then you." "Dad, I can't forgive him." Li Qianxue didn't say anything to her children or to Gada, but there was nothing she couldn't say to her father. "I can't forgive him, but I can't let him go either." Li Qianxue's expression was cold, with a hint of pain. "I still have feelings for him. I admit it." She couldn't let go of a man she had loved for more than 20 years. "But I can't forget what he did. In the beginning he swapped the child and made her raise someone else's daughter as her own without her knowing. Now that Su Qingsang didn't pursue this matter, she could let it go. But this wasn't the only problem between her and Su Qinghui. There was also what happened afterward. I thought I could forget the things he said and did to me. But I found that I couldn't. When she was pregnant with Su Qingsang, Su Qinghui didn't care about her. When she was pregnant with Su Yusin, Su Qinghui still didn't care about her. He accused her of using the child to tie him up. He accused her of being a disgusting schemer. And there were many more after that. I really can't forget. Qianxue? Old Master Li was stunned for a moment. He always knew that his daughter and Su Qinghui's marriage hadn't been smooth all these years, but he didn't expect that there was still something he didn't know. That day when I woke up from a nightmare, I thought that I had done a lot of stupid things for Su Qinghui. Then I thought about asking him to do all the things I had done. Su Qinghui wasn't the only one who was sacrificing. She had also sacrificed. She had once traveled across half the city just to buy a snack that Su Qinghui liked to eat. She had also learned to wash hands and make soup because of Su Qinghui, but she gave up because she really didn't have the talent. She had once stayed by Su Qinghui's side when he was sick, but after he woke up, he was still indifferent and didn't treat her well. She remembered everything she had done for Su Qinghui when she was young. It wasn't that she had a good memory, but that she had done so much, but she hadn't touched that man in the slightest. I just feel that I can't accept it. Li Qianxue closed her eyes. This was the first time she had said such words to Old Master Li. I really just can't accept it. I want him to learn to sacrifice once. Just like those little girls say now, I want to do it once. I want him to know how he used to ignore me. Old Master Li didn't know what he was going to say. Qianxue. He didn't know that his daughter had such thoughts. Dad, do you think that I'm very willful? I don't think so. Old Master Li immediately changed his stance and stood on Li Qianxue's side. My daughter, so what if you're willful? Dad. Li Qianxue smiled. Actually, it's all your fault. You spoiled me. There was only one thought in his mind: nothing could happen to Li Qianxue. Now that Li Qianxue asked about it, he realized that he hadn't even paid attention to the final outcome of Su Peijian's trial. As a father, he had failed in his duty. I'll call and ask now. As Su Qinghui spoke, his phone rang. It was the lawyer he had hired for Su Peijian. Mr. Su, the result of the trial is out. How is it? Su Qinghui only felt a little nervous at this moment. He glanced at Li Qianxue, not sure what the result would be if she knew. The appeal was successful. The previous first trial was rejected. The second trial changed the sentence to 2 years in prison, suspended for 2 years. The lawyer's words made Su Qinghui breathe a sigh of relief. This result was more or less good. Suspended for 2 years. As long as Su Peijian didn't do anything wrong in these 2 years, she would basically be a free person. Good, very good. Thank you. Lawyer Jiang. You're welcome. Lawyer Jiang also breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, this matter was because of Su Qingsang. She knew that Su Qinghui had been running around because of Su Peijian recently, so she didn't want to be nosy. But after all, that person was still her biological father. Especially Su Qinghui's recent performance, it touched her a lot. After thinking about it, she still greeted Hu Jinyao. This result was also the best for her. 2 years in prison. Including the time Su Peijian had served before, she still had 6 months in prison. 2 years of probation and she would be released. If she caused trouble again, she would be locked up again. If she really repented, Su Qinghui could also breathe a sigh of relief. What about Jinren Pei? Miss Su was released after the trial. Now she is home with her mother, Miss Xiang. Su Peijian's second trial was such a big matter, so naturally she had to tell Xiang Kaiping. Even though Xiang Kaiping didn't like Su Qinghui, he could help Su Peijian come back earlier, so Xiang Kaiping felt a little better. Su Qinghui spoke a few more words with lawyer Jiang and finally hung up. Then he called Su Peijian. Su Peijian had just come out and didn't have a phone. Su Qinghui contacted Xiang Kaiping first, so they should be together at this time. Dad. Yes. Peijian. How are you? Not bad. Su Peijian wanted to come out earlier, but she didn't expect it to be so soon. I'm sorry. Peijian, Dad had something to do today, so I couldn't accompany you. Dad, it doesn't matter. I'm already out anyway. Su Peijian didn't care about the process. She could also see that in Su Qinghui's heart, her position had probably fallen again and again. If it was in the past, she would definitely be indignant. But now, after more than a year in prison, she was more open-minded than before. It's good that you're out, it's good that you're out. Su Qinghui's feelings were a little complicated. Instead, Su Qinghui took the initiative to tell Old Master Li that Su Peijian had come out and the verdict. Old Master Li immediately attributed Li Qianshue's reaction to the impact of Su Peijian's incident. That night, Su Qinghui didn't leave the Li family. Instead, he stayed at the Li family. If it were any other time, Li Qianxue would have asked someone to drive Su Qinghui out. However, today was a special day, so she didn't think of driving Su Qinghui out. Li Qianxue took a shower and came out of the bathroom. She saw Su Qinghui sitting on the sofa in the room waiting for her. She didn't look at him and walked to the dresser to do some basic maintenance. At this time, Su Qinghui got up and walked behind her. He placed his hands on her shoulders and used just the right amount of strength to massage her shoulders. Li Qianxue didn't refuse him. She looked at Su Qinghui through the mirror. His usually elegant face still contained concern at this time, and the gaze he looked at her was very complicated. But the easiest thing to see was worry. Li Qianxue, who felt uncomfortable under his gaze, retracted her gaze as she patted on the toner. It's getting late. Aren't you going home? I'm not going back. Su Qinghui lowered his head and smelled the rose fragrance on her body. Qianxue, from now on you can't drive me away. I'll be wherever you are. Li Qianxue frowned slightly and looked at Su Qinghui. Her lips moved, but in the end she pushed him away. Qianxue? Su Qinghui's expression was hurt for a moment. Li Qianxue couldn't stand his gaze. Go take a shower. You're so dirty. This meant that she tacitly agreed to let him stay. Su Qinghui couldn't help but kiss her on the cheek. Okay, I'll go take a shower. Li Qianxue watched as his figure disappeared behind the bathroom. For a moment she didn't know if her behavior was right or wrong. She didn't wait for Su Qinghui. Instead, she took a book and went to bed. She turned on the bedside lamp on her side and opened the book. It was a short story by O. Henry. She had always liked it, but now she couldn't quite get into it. If she let Su Qinghui stay, what would happen next? Su Qinghui soon came out. He just wrapped a bath towel around his waist and came out. Li Qianxue glanced at him from the corner of her eyes and then looked away. She looked as if nothing had happened, but when Su Qinghui sat down beside her, her whole body stiffened. They had been married for more than 20 years, but they had only had skin contact twice. Once before the wedding and once after the wedding. One time there was Su Qingsang and the other time there was Su Yusen. Now, more than a year after their divorce, the couple was lying in the same bed again. When he came to China, he met Su Qinghui by chance and owed him a favor. After asking about Li Qianshue's situation, he looked at her medical report and suggested that she do a comprehensive examination first. Su Qinghui's expression had been very solemn almost from the moment he entered the hospital. He had been worried, and this heart couldn't be put to rest no matter how hard he tried. As for Li Qianxue, he didn't know if she had gone out for a few days to relax. She looked much more relaxed than Su Qinghui. Before the examination, Li Qianxue looked at Su Qinghui. "Don't look like that. If you look like this, I'll think that I won't live to see tomorrow." "Don't talk nonsense." Su Qinghui's expression became even uglier. "Don't make such a joke." She could afford it, but he couldn't. "Relax, life and death are up to fate." "How big is it?" "Li Qianxue." Su Qinghui couldn't take it anymore and called her full name. Li Qianxue smiled. For the first time, she took the initiative to put her arms around Su Qinghui's waist and looked up at him. "Do you know? I'm not afraid of anything now. Qianxue? I have everything I want." Li Qianxue wasn't comforting him. She was serious. "Yusen has grown up and Qingsang is married and happy. As for my father, I believe there's nothing he can't understand. And you, my biggest obsession in the first half of my life was to want your love. Now I have it too. To me, there's nothing that I regret and there's nothing that I pity. So, Li Qianxue, don't say any more." Su Qinghui hugged her tightly and didn't let her break free. He kissed the top of her head. He couldn't stand her calm appearance. "You've had enough, but I haven't. You don't think it's a pity, but I do. I also have regrets and I have obsessions. Qianxue, I know that at this point you don't care about anything and don't care about anything. I can't. So, don't say such things in front of me." He couldn't stand it even if he knew that nothing would happen to her. But just hearing her say it like this, he couldn't accept it. "Qianxue, don't ever say such words again." Li Qianxue was a little out of breath from Su Qinghui's hug. After thinking about it, she gently patted his back. "All right, let go." "I don't want to let go." Su Qinghui was really afraid. "I'll go check." "Qianxue?" Li Qianxue retreated from his arms and looked at him with an indifferent expression. "All right, didn't you say that I'll be fine? Since that's the case, then let me check." "Okay. You'll definitely be fine." "Definitely." Su Qinghui nodded heavily. Li Qianxue smiled, walked past him and followed the nurse to do the check. Time passed very slowly, but it also seemed to pass very quickly. More than half a day was enough for Li Qianxue to finish all the items that needed to be done. The results wouldn't come out so soon. It would be in the afternoon. Su Qinghui and Li Qianxue went to a Michelin restaurant near the hospital for dinner. The only time he lost control was the last time he was schemed against, and he still hadn't found that woman. Now that he met a girl who looked quite interesting, she avoided him like a snake or a scorpion. This feeling was really a little strange. When the waiter served the dishes, Yizhen finally came back. "I'm sorry. Uncle Li, I answered a phone call." Li Junxing looked at her and spoke. Answering the phone was fake. Avoiding him was real. He didn't expose her clumsy lie. He picked up the chopsticks at the side. "Just in time, the dishes are here. Let's eat." "Okay. I've been to this restaurant once before. Their sashimi and sushi are very authentic. You can try them." He didn't pick up any food for Yizhen, afraid that she would feel uncomfortable. "Okay." Yizhen lowered her head and focused on eating. She thought that after eating this meal and paying for it, she would treat it as returning the favor. Next time she would stay away from Li Junxing. After eating, the two of them walked out. Yizhen wanted to pay the bill, but she was told that Secretary Chen had already paid. "Uncle Li, look, I already said that it's my treat. It's okay. It's not a big deal." Li Junxing could now tell that the little girl treated him as someone with ulterior motives. He couldn't help but laugh. If he didn't look in the mirror every day, he would have thought that his appearance was terrifying and scary. Uncle Li, Yi Zhen. Knowing what she wanted to say, Li Junxing interrupted her. Your grandfather once saved my father's life. Yi Zhen was stunned for a moment. Li Junxing's expression was very serious. You may not understand what this so-called saving life means. But to the Li family, Uncle Lu is the Li family's benefactor. Uncle Li? I helped you because it was convenient. If you feel burdened, I'll pay attention next time. I didn't mean that. Yi Zhen suddenly realized that in front of Li Junxing, this little trick of hers wasn't enough. It doesn't matter if you do. As Li Junxing spoke, he stood in front of Yi Zhen with a calm expression. To me, you're like the little niece of an uncle's family. Understand? Understood. Yi Zhen nodded and laughed at herself for being oversensitive. It was just holding hands. Thank you, Uncle Li. Look, I said that it was my treat. Then, in total, he had helped him twice. It's okay. Let's go. I'll send you back. There's no need. I can take a taxi. It's not easy to call a taxi here. Li Junxing didn't give her a chance to refuse. Also, I want to go back to the city mayor's office. It's on the way. This reason made Yi Zhen speechless. It was really on the way. She had no choice but to follow behind Li Junxing. The two of them left the room one after the other. Secretary Chen went to the opposite side to drive over. Li Junxing took Yi Zhen to the front. Yi Zhen walked in front of Li Junxing. She thought about how she had been tempted in front of him today. It was one of the top high-end residential areas in Qing City. The confidentiality inside was top-notch. Some celebrities also lived here. The location was also good and it was close to the city center. Li Junxing held Yi Zhen's hand and got out of the car. This was a house with one floor. After entering the elevator and going upstairs, they went straight to Li Junxing's residence. He pressed his finger on the fingerprint identification screen at the door, and the door opened. At first glance, it was decorated in a simple and neat modern style. It was clean and tidy. It was obvious that it was a place where a single man lived. Li Junxing entered the door, changed into a pair of indoor shoes, and placed a pair of disposable slippers in front of her. Come in. Yi Zhen stood at the door and was a little hesitant. She had a feeling that if she entered the door, she would never be able to escape again. Don't worry, Secretary Chen is downstairs. After you change your clothes, I'll ask him to send you back. Yi Zhen still didn't move. Li Junxing looked at her hesitant expression and reached out to pull her in. Come here and sit for a while. Seeing the gloomy expression on Yi Zhen's face, he smiled lightly. I don't have any women's clothes here. I asked Secretary Chen to buy them. It will take some time. Are you going to stand and wait? Uncle Li? Yi Zhen hesitated for a second but decided to call him that. Thank you for what happened before. In my heart you're an elder. Her lips were blocked again. He kissed her lips, picked her up, and brought her to the sofa to sit down. She was held in his arms like she was in the cockpit just now. She wasn't used to the overly intimate position. She couldn't help but twist her body, wanting to leave his arms. Unexpectedly, she felt as if she was sitting on something hard. Yi Zhen's body suddenly stiffened. She looked at Li Junxing in shock. She couldn't believe that he actually, don't move. Li Junxing gripped her waist tightly and pressed her against his chest. If you move again, I can't guarantee what I'll do. You're shameless. Yi Zhen was really unwilling. She glared at him hatefully. I'm your niece. My dad only has a sister and no brothers. Li Junxing leaned close to her and said against her neck, How are you my niece? You. Yi Zhen gritted her teeth. You asked me to call you Uncle Li, N. Li Junxing nodded. He didn't mind a form of address. You can continue to call me that in the future. I'll just treat it as fun. When the word fun came out of his mouth, he didn't forget to bite her earlobe. This simple action easily made the blush on Yi Zhen's face spread to her neck.